Hey everyone, I'm Ian McCarthy of Lifting for Life, bringing you another training vlog tonight. And given some of you were unsatisfied with the absence of informative content in the last vlog, which, by the way, speaking directly to those people, I apologize for that. What happened with that vlog, for some context, is in the editing process, it was just really clicking with just the music, no voiceover, no text. Decided to roll with that as a bit of an experiment. I really liked it, but I completely understand that a lot of you, probably almost all of you, followed me for information and there wasn't any in that video, so I'll bring you as much as possible today. So what we're looking at here is upper body A, which is one of the 3 upper body workouts I do each week. This is the first of the 3 and also the heaviest. So it consists of, I really think of it as not literally 2 workouts, but it has 2 parts. The first is Incline Barbell Press, pull-ups, flat dumbbell press, and chest supported T-bar rows. And then I go on to more accessory type stuff. So that's the basic. If you've ever seen the recommendation of someone doing a vertical press, vertical pull, horizontal press, horizontal pull, that's very similar to what I'm doing here. You have not literally a vertical press, but you have an incline press and then a flat press. The reason why I'm not doing a vertical is to not get into a huge discussion of the value of overhead pressing for hypertrophy. I'm focusing more on chest and delts at this point, so it's just appropriate for me to do the 2 chest dominant presses. Then pull-ups for lats. Also, I've just been really enjoying actually doing bodyweight pull-ups. And then chest supported T-bar rows are probably my favorite exercise for the mid-back overall. I mean, they hit the lats, they hit the traps, they hit the rear delts effectively. They were suggested to me many, many months ago by my good friend Kevin Butler. I've been doing them ever since and huge fan of them. So again, that addresses those basic movement patterns of vertical push, not really, vertical pull, horizontal push, horizontal pull, and then around that I add in lateral raises, wanting to get some additional volume for the delts, side delts specifically, and some pullovers. We're going to get there in a second. What you've seen so far is the incline barbell press. I'll put the full workout in terms of what I actually did, because I realized that I don't recall, and I probably should have checked that prior to doing the voiceover. I'll do that in the future, but I will put all of that information in the description box below the video if you're someone who, like me, maybe you want to see numbers. But this is the one upper body session of the week where I will do sets of as low as 4 reps, whereas through the rest of the week I'll do a lot of 8 to 12 stuff, and even particularly upper B, which is the lightest of the 3 days, I do a lot of 12 to 15 rep work, as you're able to accumulate more volume faster and with less fatigue, which is not to say you should never do heavy training, but that is an argument. Well, that really is an argument for the inclusion of high rep work. I would say if we would want to give an argument against most of your work being low rep, it's that it will take more time. It will take more time and generate more fatigue and be more risky in order to yield the same hypertrophy. So again, chest supported T-bar row. On those, I really focus on protraction and retraction of the scapulae, shoulder blades. That's huge, as opposed to, I think it's easy to limit range of motion on rows because it makes them easier. Applies to practically everything, but especially rows. You see people using really limited range of motion, presumably because they just find it easier. Maybe in some cases they haven't been exposed to the idea of full range of motion, and that would speak to the importance of people like me emphasizing the value of full range of motion. So again, lateral raises, these are not the full range of motion lateral raises that I've been doing a lot of. I do both, I have been doing both, and I'll occasionally do single arm cable laterals as well. In fact, I think I did those in one of my recent training vlogs. The reason why I don't do those all the time is that they take longer, given you're training one side at a time. So these are cable pullovers. I love these for the lats. They feel amazing. You can easily, it's interesting with a lot of pulling movements, I find that I'm not able to do really high reps because they get uncomfortable, just genuinely bordering on painful in a bad way. Whereas with these, I don't have that issue until I get up to about 25 reps. And they just hammer the lats. You can do a couple of hard sets really quickly. They generate almost practically no central fatigue. So if you're someone who you just want to bring up your lats, those would be something to include. They're also really well tolerated. I was actually having a discussion with someone on Facebook about this earlier on today, and it's so important to consider whether or not you just tolerate an exercise. I'm really thinking in terms of things like joint pain, you know, where someone says, you got to do bench to build a huge chest. Well, if you do it and it's excruciatingly painful, that would be a really good reason to not do it. Which certainly we would want to have a discussion of technique as well. But it's interesting how often that doesn't appear to be the issue. In other words, someone will perform an exercise properly if there's no external indicator that there are technique issues, and they still don't tolerate it well. And you also want to consider things like, what is your preference? Do you even like an exercise? If you really hate one, then sometimes it is appropriate to do something you dislike because it just is the best option from a physiological perspective. But even then, you have to consider really your priorities, and in that particular case, I would say, is enjoyment more important? And you have to ask questions about your own psychology. Are you someone who, even if you don't actually enjoy what you're doing, maybe on a micro level, you're able to say it doesn't really matter, like, well, I won't enjoy these 5 minutes, but it's totally worth it. Or maybe you're someone who, first and foremost, you want training to be really fun, so it would be completely appropriate to dump certain things just because you dislike them. So I did some triceps pushdowns, some row pushdowns, I should say. That's an exercise where, interestingly, I found I'm able to go decently heavy and still do good sets, which is often not the case with isolations. You're just not able to maintain form and get a good feel going, even doing sets of 8, as an example, is oftentimes tough with isolations. And I wouldn't say that a set of 8 reps is a low rep set. So with the row pushdowns, again, I don't actually go as low as 6 reps, but I sense that I could and still maintain form. Doing some dumbbell curls here. So the key is to use as much lower back and glutes as possible. I would note, though, seriously, that I think my form was adequate there. I was using what I call controlled momentum. So some hip extension to overcome the undesirable tension curve that you get with that exercise, and I really fight the negatives. But I would certainly acknowledge that there is such a thing as overdoing it. And indeed, I think going into this workout, I lightened the weight well relative to upper A last week, because I could just tell it was too much last week. So I would say that isolation exercises generally, and it depends on the context. I mean, something like a knee extension, aka leg extension, is a single joint exercise, but you're able to go heavier and make progress more quickly. But certainly with stuff like arm training, it's an imperative you not fixate on the load and increasing the external load. Again, really fighting the negatives. Sorry, I got distracted. Looking really vascular, Hitting some posing here. Perpetually DYEL. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you again soon. Hope you enjoyed this.